Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Another great result for Celtic with 10 men and Rangers booed off the park. So, going right into that, we had a big away day at Livingston on one of the most dodgy pitches in Scotland against a guy that really likes to beat Celtic. So it was probably, in my mind, honestly, I know Livingston haven't had the best start to the season, but I always look at this fixture as one of the sort of potential banana skins, if you like, of our campaign. And to go there, get an early sending off and still come out 3-0, you know, with a 3-0 victory, you kind of look at it and go, that's a good sign for me. I thought we really, not just in the result, but the performance I thought was a real step up. What did you think of it, Paul?
I think the way the word I would use to describe it, even with 10 men, is that we dominated. And it really looks like this group of players are now taking on Brendan's philosophy. And I think the hangover, I said this last week, but every week the hangover of losing Ange and losing that style and the fear of going back to a style that we had before, and are we going to be able to do this? It just gets further and further away. Standout performances for me, Matt O'Reilly, outstanding again. Dyson Maida, I mean, he could have had a hat-trick. And another shout out to Liam Scales and Lager Bielka. I felt like the centre-half pairing are starting to really like find a place, and I am hoping that this is the making, specifically, like this period is the making specifically of Liam Scales, because I like the look of him and I think he looks like a good guy as well. So I was really happy with the performance. Like you just said, Livingston's a banana skin for Celtic, and to get through that convincingly, dominantly, and going down to 10 men was just really pleasing for me. I don't think there's any debate about the red card, to be honest. I don't think we should really go into that, you know?
No, I don't think it's, like you say, there's no debate about it. For me, Hart should be higher up to begin with. I feel like he doesn't, you know, like, if Celtic have most of the ball, I just feel like we don't necessarily need to keep it to be that deep in his box all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, obviously he was never to anticipate all that, but I'm just saying if he's a couple of yards further forward, he gets there first.
Yeah, I think so too. There was a ball held between him getting it and not getting it, and I don't think the pitch helped him, because when it bounced, it really, like, you seen the momentum come right out of the ball as soon as it bounced, and it let the striker get in front. A couple of people I seen saying I would rather they equalised and we kept 11 men. I mean, with hindsight, I'm like, no, like, he stopped the goal scoring opportunity. We went down to 10 men and we still won 3-0. So I think, like, you know, I'm happy. We're going to preview Motherwell and Saturday, like, soon. We'll talk about, like, the goalkeeping options. But I was very happy with the performance and the scoreline.
Touching on the individual performances, I was thinking about Matt O'Reilly, right? And I really feel like what's happening with Matt O'Reilly, you can tell me if you disagree with this, right? But I feel like it really reminds me of what Rodgers, very similar to what Rodgers did with Ryan Christie. Ryan Christie was somebody that was a good Celtic player, but he wasn't, you know, Matt O'Reilly's done really well for us, right? But what I'm saying is that I felt like Rodgers took Christie to a different level with his forward runs and his goal scoring ability for Celtic in his last sort of season that he was there.
Yeah.
And he started to become a guy that was scoring a lot of goals for us. Now, Matt O'Reilly has been phenomenal for us, I believe, like really consistent, really good. But the one kind of critique about Matt O'Reilly has been his sort of maybe a bit of lack of composure in front of goal, his lack of goal contributions from midfield, and that has been noticeably. He's been noticeably the guy. He's getting in the box. He's making the forward runs. He's scoring the goals, and I think that's a big difference I'm seeing to his game pre and post Rodgers.
I agree with you. He was great under Ange, but he seems to have took a step up and took it to that next level. And I don't think, like you're saying, we've got to attribute that to Brendan Rodgers. He's done it with multiple players. So actually thinking about this during the week, when I heard Rodgers talk about Maida and saying, like, he's got all the energy and you know, he contributes so much to the team, he puts so much into a game, but what we need to work on with him is like the technical football, you know what I mean? And I was actually thinking, like, I think he's get better. And he had played for Ange previously in Japan. He'd brung him over with him. He didn't really develop him, though. There wasn't any, like, you didn't see any clear development. Dyson Maida's always had a strong engine. He's always been a fit guy. He's always ran himself into the ground. But what I'm seeing with him is a bit of development, and I hope that continues, because if that guy's, for what I'd heard, technical football, and I'm doing air quotes and I say that, gets better, like his actual footballing ability gets better, I mean, that'll be a player and a half. Like, with that engine, with that determination, with that running, and actually add into it a bit of composure, I think that would be frightening.
Absolutely, mate. And I think that what's really great about it is this was the main positive about Rodgers coming in for me, was knowing that from his time at Celtic, his individual ability to improve players, you know, to coach a player and work on what they need to improve them, like in the training ground, is definitely for me, by far and away, his best strength as a coach. He's able to, he's constantly looking to improve individual players, but I think Andrew's more focused on the system than necessarily improving individual players, which is why I think Rodgers could really help guys like Maeda, you know, O'Reilly, Hatate, you know, all these guys. And that was why, you know, when we were going through those bad 12s, the thing that you fall back on is knowing that this guy is a good coach, whether you like him or not.
He's world class. We would say that episodes ago when he got appointed, we've got a world class coach, and he's proven that. I mean, I think that he's week by week proving his doubters wrong, really. Still a few people out there with the knives out for him, but definitely no me. Like, definitely no me. I'm back on the Brendan train.
For sure.
And seeing him at the end of the game, I think, you know, he's a great tactician. And I mean that he's proved that both, you know, like at Ibrox recently, where he sucked him into a game plan. He did it, you know, he changed it up on Saturday when we went down to 10 men. He just knows what to do. Like, I think that's one of the things with Rodgers is you've got confidence that he's got a plan in his head, whether or not that plan comes off. Excuse me. Whether or not that plan comes off is another thing, right? You know, that was always my sort of fear. Like, is this going to suit this team? Blah blah blah. But he's definitely got a clear plan in his head, and he knows how to execute it. So, he's a good tactician, and seeing that wee boy getting huckled by the security and him going up and taking him away and stuff like that, I think he won a few hearts and minds on Saturday afternoon. But I'm happy about that, because we do need unity. Got some big games coming up, and we do need like a united front at Celtic. So I'm quite happy with the way things are developing, and specifically about last Saturday.
For sure, mate. Just to touch on Maeda quickly, I wanted to say that one thing that I really noticed when we went down to 10 men, that guy was playing like 3 different positions at the same time, man. It was unbelievable the way that I mean, if you go down to 10 men, there's one guy you definitely want on the pitch that's Dyson Maeda, man. The way that he can just cover every blade of grass, or every grade of AstroTurf in this case, is so. Every good team needs a player like that. Like, see, even the best teams in the world, they need somebody that will just, like, you realise, like, you know, like the difference between like Liverpool, for example, from last season, it's like just having that energy back.
Yeah,
you know, it's quality is important, but having that engine in the modern game, particularly, I think, like the way the football is now, the pace of the game now, having that engine is so priceless, man.
Absolutely. I think he's became first name on the team sheet, or maybe second name in the team sheet after Callum McGregor, or maybe third after Callum McGregor and Joe Hart, because we don't have many goalkeeping options. But no, like, the guy's he's improving week by week. I think that clearly Brendan Rodgers is challenging these guys. You know, the mainstays. Kyogo has been challenged to play a different sort of style of game. Seems that the fullbacks have been challenged. I think these guys like Taylor, Kyogo, and Maeda, like the first couple of weeks of the season, looked way off it. And I think that they are all starting as the team starts to really get into a groove with this new manager and new system. they're all doing it at the same time. It's pleasing to watch. It seems to be going, like, momentum's a huge thing in any facet of life. And I think that Rodgers spoke about the game and the first time that he was here and the game out in Gibraltar and that second game when we came back to Celtic Park and then qualifying for the Champions League. And he's like, it's important that when you get to the moments where, you know, back's against the wall, how's this going to go, that your team shows character. And I think that we're showing it in spades. So I hope we continue to improve, and we've got a tough game coming up this weekend. So will we go on to Rangers at Ibrox against Motherwell? I mean, the team that we are playing this weekend.
It's very promising, like you say, and yes, because you just referenced how important momentum is in football, and I think that regardless of how good your team is, if the momentum's not going your way, it generally doesn't bode well. And for Rangers to have won a game 1-0 and got 3 points and still get booed off the park, like that doesn't look like a good sign to me. They're obviously not happy with the level of football being played, but I also don't want to dismiss the fact that Motherwell had a very good start to the season.
Yeah,
they look like a team. You know, that was it Stuart Catwell.
Yeah,
he has got them very well drilled, but also just playing some lovely football, man. And if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm looking at that and going, why am I seeing a style, identified style from the Motherwell manager, and not an identified style?
And a lack of style or identity for the current sort of Rangers team. I think that, first of all, I don't know if I've ever witnessed a Celtic team get booed off the park after a 1-0. I've been to some terrible, I've seen some terrible Celtic teams over the years. You know, like I first started going to football when Celtic were playing at Hampden, and anybody that remembers that in the mid-90s will know, like, it was dross. John Barnes' team, you know, like, even like watching some of the Stratton teams try to play football and you know, like Lenny throwing hammers. So I've seen some terrible Celtic performances, but I don't think I've ever seen a Celtic team get booed off at Celtic Park having just won 1-0 against, like you said, probably the third best team in the country. But when I watched the game back, I understood why they booed. I mean, it was the worst victory I think I've ever witnessed. One of the worst, like, performances I've ever seen a team. They got so lucky. And like you just said there, Beale has got absolutely... It looks like there's zero tactics. It looks kind of like throwing shit at the wall and hoping that something sticks. He's putting a team out in the park and he's hoping that the individuals that are on the park are going to win him a game, rather than having... Like we were just talking about 5 minutes ago, Rodgers has got a clear plan. If we go down to 10 men, here's exactly what we're going to do. They drill these things in training. It doesn't look like Rangers are doing that. They literally look like they're getting onto a park Monday to Friday, kicking the ball about, right, here we go, turn up on the Saturday and we're going to win. And if they continue to do that, now they won 4-0 midweek, but they still didn't look great for a good hour of that game. If they continue to do that, I don't think that the results will keep going their way. I think the luck will run out, because they got very lucky on Saturday. Very, very lucky. I mean, Dessers didn't really know much about the goal. It was a calamity. It really was a calamity.
The fact that they were taking it to the corner as well, man, like that's, I mean, hope in Motherwell. I mean, like, I know Motherwell are playing well and stuff like that, but there's no other way of saying it. That's just embarrassing, man. I think on one, I agree with you, it is embarrassing. Would I want to see a Celtic team take the ball into the corner when they're winning 1-0 against Motherwell at Celtic Park? Absolutely not. But if needs must. Like, what I was going to say about the Motherwell thing, they played great on Saturday. They get nothing. But with that, listen, this is the thing that's interesting is that it's like, okay, I talked to you. One of the videos we done recently, I was saying that if you win every game 1-0, like, nobody's going to look back and care about what the performance was like. And at the end of the day, that's 4 games you've played, 4 wins, 4 clean sheets. And you're kind of looking at it going, yes, there's maybe a lack of identity for the style. But if I'm going to try and play devil's advocate a wee bit, I would say that this is a whole new team. And I know that Ange came in and did it with Celtic and all that, but like it's a whole new team.
Yeah, look at what Ange's done with Tottenham.
Yeah, he's special.
Ange's a special manager. Beale's not a special. Like Beale wouldn't be able to go down and take a wavering English Premier League team and get guys that have not been able to kick their own arse for the last 2 seasons and put them on, and you're like, wow, he's even turning this around. So to that point, like Ange's a special manager, you know.
Well, and Beale is not is a relatively new manager, so you know it was always going to take time for the guy, and maybe as a matter of letting them gel, but I think the concern from a Rangers point of view is that lack of identity. It's a lack of what is the plan, because the whole idea of, I remember watching Celtic under Gordon Strachan, and I always kind of felt like there was a lot of games where you were reliant on a Nakamura free kick or a bit of magic here and there. And football was more, I feel like when we talk about the evolution of football, it was more like that back then, where you could more often than not not have as much of a style, hit a long ball, 4-4-2, win a game with a free kick or a bit of magic. But football isn't really like that anymore. Like, especially if you're competing against a manager like Brendan Rodgers, you're not going to, like, you don't win a league without a style of play. I think that's something that Ange directly showed when he was here, and Rodgers had also showed with the trebles that he won before. So when you're looking at Beale, you know, it kind of feels like it's a matter of time for him, really.
Well, I think like this is the big problem. Like, if anybody was to say why are they booing, you know, and I heard other Rangers fans saying that, like, disgraceful, booing the team off the park. I think the matter of the fact is that the guys that are in the stadium watching it, go week in, week out, know they're not going to win a league. Like, they need to get, like what we're saying, they're, you know, beating Livingston 4-0 at home. Is that scraping through a game? No, it's not. But they go 1-0 up on a blatant foul, and then they toil for another like 45 minutes after that before they go 2-0 up. And then obviously the pressure's off, right? And this has been the criticism of this Rangers team for a long time. I think since they came back, for Warburton, Kashia, even Gerrard, outside of the COVID season, they are not mentally good at dealing with being in front of that Ibrox crowd, which is a toxic support, in my opinion, who, the second they see any sort of like sign that they're not going to win a game, they turn on their team. The amount of times that I see the same guys talking up James Tavernier for scoring away goals in Europe, which you hope that, I mean, the amount of goals that guy contributions and what he's contributed to that team in the last decade, I mean, I think it's crazy that there's guys out there that are like, he's a serial loser and he's not a captain, and you're like, are you serious? He's been your best player for 10 years. That's how toxic that support is. They can't, it's like failure is unacceptable, but unfortunately over the last decade, since this incarnation in 2012, like, you have failed. You have failed miserably as far as it comes with winning Scottish Premier Leagues. You have won one out of the last, what have they competed, maybe the last 8. So I think this support, for me, if I take my sort of Celtic hat off, need to accept the fact that they're second best. I think that there was an acceptance with the Celtic, parts of the Celtic support under guys like Tommy Burns. We can see this is going in the right direction. We didn't win a league with the guy, but we were happy because we could see things improving. But I just... This is what I think that the reason why they're so discontent with Michael Beale is they don't see any improvement. There's no marked improvement. They've got rid of guys, we're repeating ourselves, they've got rid of guys who were of a certain standard, and they've signed guys who seem to be so far at a lower standard to the guys. Like, who's the better player at Dessers and Morelos? I think Morelos is a way better player. He's going to be way more consistent. He's going to score way more goals. Just on the evidence of what we've seen, and I think that's the same across the front three. So there's a lot at play at Rangers. There's a lot of reasons why they feel the way that they feel. But I think ultimately, like, for them to have any chance going forward and in the future, that immediate success that they're hoping for, I don't think is going to happen. It doesn't seem to be happening for them. And I think that the fact that we sat in here as a support and I think in general, Angie's first season, we had accepted the fact that we were only going to win that league and we won it. So there's like a weird sort of paradox there, but they need to take the pressure off that squad. They need to go and support them. They need to support their manager. We're at the 29th of September. The league started 4 or 5 weeks ago and they're already like, who's going to replace Beale? It's ludicrous to me. It feels like lunacy. And from a Celtic supporter's point of view, let it continue. Like, because it'll only go one way. Like, I hope it keeps going like that.
And the thing is as well, like, as much as that it's a bleak picture, but it is the reality of what's happening. And you're looking at it and going, well, you know, with Beale, like with us, when you're talking about that, the booing and the sort of panic that's setting in a wee bit with it, it's not just about this season, because they go, you know, if we keep this guy on and he gets another season, we're just in store for more of the same. And then you end up going, you know, it's that whole idea of that snap reaction in modern day football for any Scottish club, with the way that the finances go, is not sustainable, because you're looking at, you know, if you're going through another rebuild, you're maybe looking at another season when you miss out in the Champions League again, which gives us another chance to go £20 million more ahead of them again, which makes it even harder for you to go over this. You know what I mean? So it's like you're constantly falling. It's not like the gaps is the same. You're constantly falling further behind because we're getting more money as we succeed and they don't. So there's this way of being like, yeah, we're patient, but the fact that like it'd be different if we could sit here and say, right, he's developing a team where they might not win the league next season, but they could win it next season. And I think that's what Celtic fans felt with Ange is, yeah, we probably won't win it this season, but we could win it next season.
Yeah, we could see exactly what he was trying to do and we liked what we seen for what he was trying to do. And we were willing to give him a year or two to try and build that. Gerrard's kind of made the blueprint for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, this whole thing, when we talk about Beale, Rangers fans really need to remember that they were clamouring for this guy. The board didn't appoint Beale because he was the first on their list. They appointed Beale because the fans wanted him. The fans made Beale happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like the board appointed Beale to appease the fans, and the fans demanded him. You demanded the guy's been back with millions of pounds. Now you need to back him. You've made your bed, lie in it.
You need to hold your nerve.
Aye.
You really need to hold your nerve. Like you need to you couldn't have put it any. I couldn't have put it any better myself, mate. Really, what you just said there. And Gerrard was the blueprint. He built a team. He inherited Pedro Casillas' team. He built a team around what he's seen was there, and it took them 3 years. And I think like every rebuild, again, we come back to what we said. Ange was special. There's so many things that went right for us that season. He had insight into a market that nobody else in Europe was tapping into. We get guys like Kyogo with £3.5 million. Dyson Maida was 250k. Like Riho Hatate cost us like a couple of £1 million. Like, that's not normal. And I think that, I hate to say, you know, like, I don't like the look of Michael Beale's face. I don't like the way he talks. He definitely opens his mouth and lets his belly rumble. He's full of cliches. Like, he's just not my type of guy. If I was a Rangers supporter, I don't like him. Don't like him as a manager. But I feel bad for him because he's being compared to a special manager, a guy who's went and so far is doing it at the top level. And I feel like that's a bad comparison. And like you said, they were desperate for him. They were desperate to get rid of Van Bronckhorst and desperate to get Michael Beale in. And I hate to say it, but it is a bit of we told you so. Because we're like, this guy's getting the experience and he's coming into a huge club with an expectation that isn't really anywhere else outside of the top 4 in the English Premier League and maybe the top 2 in Spain. So I am starting to feel kind of bad for him, but then every time I hear an interview, I stop feeling bad for him because he's talking about, you know, how many touches they're having in the opposition half and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, Lenny, but it's like Neil Lennon insanity all over again, you know.
Well, that's the thing, is his inexperience has made it worse for himself when it comes to the media as well, because all throughout the last season, like seeing at the end of last season, how many times you hear this guy say, I can't wait for the summer, I can't wait for us to do it. Like he kept saying, wait till you see us next season, wait till you see us after the summer. I kept hearing him say things like, oh, you know, it's going to be a really exciting summer for the fans. We're going to rebuild this team. We're going to be ready to go. He was the one saying that. He didn't need to say that. He could have. It showed his lack of experience that he was already hyping up the fans. He was selling them a dream that was going to take time, and he never said that. He never said once that it was going to take time.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll move on to our predictions, because I think we've spent enough time talking about Rangers. But there was an interview with Mark Warburton that I watched, and he said that the day that they started the league campaign, in 2016, 2017, when they first came up for the championship, said they walked out that tunnel on the first day and he seen we're going for 55, and he's like, my heart sank, because I just knew, like, too much expectation for a team that have just been promoted. And like you're saying there, due to his inexperience, Beale has invited that onto himself. So, like the fans, he's going to need to lie in his bed. If I was to make a prediction, not about the weekend, but about how this is go, I reckon he'll still be here. I think that he's getting results. If he keeps getting results, I don't think they'll sack him. I don't think that the board in their right mind could sack a guy based on them winning games but not playing well. I think that again, it would be crazy if they did that. If the media is to be believed, they've already tried to get another couple of people to take the job, and they've been turned down. So I think it would need to get very desperate for them to sack him. I don't think they'll do it. So that would be my prediction on it.
I think if he doesn't win the League Cup, he'll go. He needs to win the League Cup. I
think he will win the League Cup, though.
I think he will, but also, like, it's just not a guarantee, though, is it? You know, because
no, definitely not.
How many cups did Gerrard get knocked out in the semi-final with? You know,
no, 100%. It's definitely no guaranteed, but I think he'll do it.
But yeah, you're right. I think like it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, and at the end of the day, he is getting the results. So moving on to the predictions for the weekend coming up, Celtic obviously have a big week ahead with Motherwell away, and then also the Champions League midweek. I feel like Motherwell away is a great game for us to prepare for the Champions League in the sense of the form that they're in, and they have a good pitch too. They have a good pitch where we can play good football, and we're playing against a team that are in good form. I'm not by any means saying that Motherwell are the same level as Lazio, right? I'm just meaning that they're going to give us a good game. They're going to play expansive football and give us a good game, and I think that bodes well for us going into midweek, and also playing a pitch that is less, you know, inclined to have injuries and stuff, which is positive. It'll be a really tough game though, and I'm curious to see if we go out and comfortably beat Motherwell away. I'm looking at that going, that's a big statement. So that'll be interesting to see. What do you think the score will be in that game, Paul?
Well, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a tough test. We're also starting probably with Scott Bain, because it seems like he's been the number 2. That does not fill me with confidence. I'm not a Scott Bain fan.
What happened to the guy that was sent from Dundee United?
He's still there.
I thought he was he not? Because I thought he was quite. When he was at Dundee United, he was quite decent. He's played well for us.
Yeah, I think it's been said many times, and it's different playing for any other team in Scotland than it is playing for Celtic or Rangers. Like you're expected to play football for one, like be able to pass the ball, and you're also doing nothing for probably like 80 minutes and 90 minutes, and there's like a 10-minute period where you're going to be active. So I don't know what's happened to him. You know, I trust the process enough, and I trust the people at Celtic enough to know that if he was good enough, he'd be on the park. But Scott Bain does not fill me with confidence. The tail end of last season, when he got a couple of games, he was horrific, specifically Easter Road. I don't think he looked great when he came on Saturday either. There was a couple of bomb scare moments. So Fir Park's never a fun place to go. I mean, I think we were 3-0 down or 2-0 down there at one time under Rodgers and came back and won the game 4-3. But the way that we are playing, the dominance, the composure that we're showing, I think if I was to 3-1, I'll go with 3-1 Celtic. What about you? Would you think the score will be?
Interesting you said that, because I was going between 3-1 or 2-1. I think that given a bit of respect to Motherwell, I think it will be 2-1, because I do think I can see a world where they pick up points in this game, and I think that it's going to be hard for us. So I reckon that it'll be a tight game, and we'll just we'll edge it, hopefully. But I do think that Bain is a concern, because he's just not quite at the level that we need him to be. And also, but I think it's good how Hatate, get a chance to get, hopefully going into the Champions League game, we can go into it a bit more sharp and ready to go.
Matt Sharp.
Yeah. And also Lazio not doing too well either. So
Lazio have had a horrible start to the season, but it's Lazio at Celtic Park, so I'm just like, let's forget that form goes out the window. But I think for the I mean the 3-1. If we go, how's that 3-1 going to go? I think it'll be tight. I don't think it'll be like we're 3-0 up and they get a consolation goal. I think it'll be a tight game. So hope we're on it. Looking forward to it. We'll see what happens.
Such a cliche, but I think it's a cliche thing to say, but the first goal is going to be so important in terms
100%, mate.
of the momentum of that game.
Rangers have got a big game at Ibrox, got Aberdeen at Ibrox. It's kind of like Livingston for us, Rangers, Aberdeen, banana skin, history, everything there, What do you think? What's your thoughts on the game?
Well, I actually think Aberdeen, I know they've had a really poor start to the league season, but I think Europe has a big part to play in that. And there's the fact that they've had the qualifiers and they don't necessarily have the squad to handle that. But they have, on paper, they have probably the best level of quality of a squad out with Celtic and Rangers. So, they've got a lot of players that can cause problems. I really like that pen they've got with that, I can't pronounce his name, begins with M, Miosic or something like that, some sort of striker. I can't pronounce it. I can see it in my head, but I can't pronounce it. So they got a couple of strikers that are really quite fast and can cause them problems. They've not been in good form, but I think now with the kind of qualifiers and stuff out of the way, and they've not just beat Ross County 3-0 pretty convincingly as well. So they'll be going into this with a bit more of a, and maybe potentially just see it if he hit, because Barry Robson, he knows the pressure of this situation. He'll know exactly the kind of pressure that Michael Beale's under, and he'll be saying to them, let's get the crowd on their back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
He's got arguably more experience to do with that actual fixture, potentially.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Davy Martindale, you're talking about, loves to beat Celtic. I'm sure Barry Robson would love to beat Rangers at Ibrox. Score-wise, I hate to say it, but I think they'll probably win 2-0.
Yeah.
Rangers will win. I would go for, if you were to go put a bet, you need to put your mortgage on, which is 2-0 with Rangers. I
honestly think it's a 1-goal game. I think it will go 1-0 to Rangers, but I believe it could really go 1-0 either way, because I feel like a lot of their games just feel tight now, and everything's on a knife edge, and I do think they'll get the result and be 1-0, but I don't think they'll be able to score more than that, and I just see it being a situation where tight game, who's going to, first goal's the winner type of situation. I could be wrong on that, because it's always one of those situations when they're not doing too well, that this, generally speaking, if Beale is going to upturn this situation, these are the kind of times where you come out and see them beat a team 4-5-0 and you go, whoa, didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of pull that out of the bag. But I would say 1-0 Rangers is probably what I would go with there.
Well, there we go. You
can't say that we're not fair, I would say.
Well, that's it. We're trying. We're trying.
We're trying, because honestly, whether whichever team you support, I really do appreciate anyone that watches these videos. And if you're a Rangers fan that enjoys my content, I appreciate the fact that you watch it and that you enjoy the content, and I want you to watch it more. So yeah, we're trying to do that, and we want to include more teams as we go on, as we get a bit of an idea of how to kind of structure these and be more precise with not necessarily going into Celtic and Rangers like overly, because as we spoke about. So hopefully as we go on, we get a more rhythm of it all. We can talk more about Aberdeen and other teams, more specifically what's going on throughout the league and stuff like that. But yeah, that was really enjoyable, and hopefully those predictions are half correct. But we'll see you in the next video, and cheers for watching.